Namaste and greetings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I'm Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, the founding minister and spiritual director. If you ever have questions about who I am, who we are, what we do, what is Spiritually Integrated Arts, what is a teaching center, what is Centers for Spiritual Living, what is metaphysical spirituality, what is New Thought, Science of Mind and Spirit, how do I become a member? How can I support, tithe, and donate? All of these questions and so many more. Send an email. You have two options. SIAADMIN, Spiritually Integrated Arts, admin at spirituallyintegratederarts.org, or spirituallyintegratederarts@gmail.com. Either of those will work. You can also visit our website, www.spirituallyintegratederarts.org. Now, you may be wondering, where else can I find and follow? There are several other social media platforms that you can also subscribe and follow. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel, where you can also find all of our Sunday messages and more. I look forward to hearing from you soon. I look forward to you being a part of this beloved community. Because we are a virtual community, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. This can also be your spiritual community, because you can have more than one. Anywhere that you feel supported, anywhere you are spiritually fed is home, is community, is relationship. So I look forward to dialoguing more, conversing more, getting to know you. Much love and appreciation. Live long and prosper. Chat with you soon. Take care. Namaste and greetings. Today, June 25th, you get the opportunity to join us in the After Message Zoom room for fellowship, camaraderie, an opportunity to meet new people and converse, ask questions, simply to love up on each other. If you do not already have the Zoom link, send an email to either of the email addresses that you see on your screen. SIAADMIN, admin at spirituallyintegratederarts.org or spirituallyintegratederarts@gmail.com. Now keep those two email addresses in your mind, because those are the email addresses that you will use for pretty much anything and everything regarding this teaching center. Such as, you ask? Such as our Wednesday night Science of Mind and Spirit discussion group. It meets from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is an opportunity to gather and discuss what is Science of Mind and Spirit. How do we practice it? How do we make it a way of life? Facilitated by none other than myself. Remember those email addresses? If you don't already have the link to join us on Wednesday night, send me an email and you can get the link for Wednesday night. Same thing for Thursday night. However, Thursday night is facilitated by Tracy Rhymes. The current time is 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be changing as of July 6th. The new time will be the same as the Wednesday night, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. More time to come together and converse and question and all that stuff that they do. Just an hour wasn't enough. Now, if you haven't been here before, then you may not understand that at the end of the message, I always leave questions. We always have questions that we are invited to take into journaling or meditation. The Thursday night group takes those questions and they bring them to community where everyone gathers together to ask those questions and to answer them. That sounds like something you would love to do. Then, once again, send an email to either of those two email addresses that I mentioned before. Request that. Request one, request both, request them all. And I will make sure that you get the appropriate link for the appropriate night or nights. Now, if you are ready, we are going to go into our final message of the month. Closing off the month, ending the month of embracing self-care. Today, we specifically talk about what it means to personalize the infinite, personalizing the infinite. There are infinite possibilities waiting to be tapped. Everyone can be everything they imagined and more. And more if they only knew that they hold the key to unlocking their good. Personalization is taking ownership of the spiritual power that lies right inside of you. Each one of us is responsible for allowing that spiritual being to express through you, as you, and in you. So you can be a light shower to others. Just like objects, we can also personalize the infinite possibilities of the universe and become who we ought to be. Okay. However, there's a couple of things in here. I didn't mention the one in the middle, but more about this in a moment. Let's pause and go into infinitude. You know what these are? Seen something like these before? Now, you may not have seen sand sculptures such as, the one in the center with the woman's head with the head within her third eye chakra, or the guy holding himself, holding himself, holding himself, holding himself. Young child building a sandcastle and the woman standing in front of a huge sandcastle. So from small to enormous, from simple to elaborate. But we're not here to admire the sand artistry. We are here to ask a question. How many grains of sand does it take? How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know. How many grains of sand? And we'll just start with one fingernail in the upper right hand, my right hand, the upper corner. You see the guy's hand coming out of the sand. His fingernail. Just in the fingernail. How many grains of sand? I mean, think about how long would it take for you to count the grains of sand that it takes to build any of these, either the structure that the young boy is working on, the structure in the center, or either structure on either side. How long would it take for you to count? How long would it take for anyone to count each individual grain of sand? Now, on the one hand, it feels like forever. It wouldn't take forever. There's going to be a limited number. Now, it may take you 25,000 years, but it's still a specific number. Why? Or it's still a finite number. Why? Because it's a finite number of grains of sand. Eventually, once you start with one, you will eventually get to 48 quadbillion, zillion, and 8. Eventually, you will reach the end. But around us, in so many ways, in so many places, we are reminded of what it means to dip our toe into the infinite, the immeasurable. We're surrounded by it. We practice it. How many breaths have you breathed thus far in your life? You don't know. What if I asked you to count? Well, there's an infinite number. No, it's not infinite number. From when you were born to where you are now, it's a finite number. But because there are so many, it feels infinite. And that is our entry point. How do we step into what it feels like to be within infinity? Pause. Because there are many ways that we can enter into the lobby of the eternal, the lobby of infinity. Something simple as look at the clothing that you own. How many different combinations? And I'm not saying that you would actually put these combinations together, but think about how many shirts. We'll just say, just for an example, there's a blue shirt there in the middle. We'll say this person, we'll say I take the blue shirt and this one pair of skinny jeans and this particular belt, those two particular pairs of socks, a pair of blue underwear, red sneakers, and for today, the jewelry that I have on, the mala and the Eye of Agamotto that I have on. Swap one thing out for something else, and it's a completely different wardrobe. One thing off, different wardrobe, something else on, different wardrobe, different pair of socks, different wardrobe. I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna mismatch. I'm gonna wear one Superman sock and one Batman sock. Switch it up. Right there, we have what, 4 or 5 different that was only with one shirt and one pair of pants. How many shirts do you own? How many slacks do you own? How many dresses do you own? How many skirts do you own? When we start to, once again, thinking about what does it mean? How can I begin to experience the infinite? Something as mundane as, for those who eat at McDonald's, for those who live in a food desert and have no choice but to eat at McDonald's, there is still the infinite possibility of choice. Say the person has $3. So $3. So today with my $3, I will get one McDouble, one salad, and 3 cookies. Again, $3. I will get one McDouble, one small soft drink, and 2 pies. I will do one McDouble, one small fry, one parfait. One McChicken, one parfait, one small fry. One side salad, parfait. I'm not sure why I mean the salad and then parfait, but nonetheless, no judgment. Soft drink. You get the point? Various combinations of how we can begin to realize that our choices, our options bring us into the presence of, in our finite way, brings us into the presence of infinity. Conversations. How many different ways can someone greet someone? Hello, hi, hey, sup, namaste, hola, bonjour, konnichiwa, guten tag. We can go on. Aloha. We can go on. We could go on. And that's just with greeting someone. It has nothing to do with the actual conversation, the sharing, the giving, the taking. Infinite possibilities. Suppose you are in New York City. How many different routes could you possibly take? And we'll do something really simple. We'll say you are 4 blocks away from Central Park. 4 blocks away. And yet, from 4 blocks away, how many different paths could you possibly take to get to Central Park? Again, the number is infinite. If I'm here, and Central Park is a straight line, I could just, 1, I'm here. I could go 1 block over, 1 block up, 1 block back over, and then up. I could go 1 block down, 1 block up, 1 back over, then back down, back over, then all the way up, and then over, and infinite possibilities. Now, often we think the shortest direction, the shortest option, I'm gonna just throw the blue shirt on because it's simple and easy. I'm gonna just get a chicken sandwich and a drink and fries because it's simple and it's easy. That's fine, because that has nothing to do with the conversation we're having right now. Understanding that you have choice and that within the choices and the options, you are afforded a finite understanding of a finite experience of the infinite. Dr. Holmes says, all manifestation of life is from an invisible to a visible plane. All manifestation, everything that you see, everything that there is from an invisible to a visible plane. Atoms, molecules, quarks, neutrons, protons, all that stuff, invisible, manifest as the visible. Okay. So once again, the entry point into how can I begin to experience in this finite form that which is infinite? So we understand that a building, prior to being a building, was designed on this thing called, or this methodology called crafting, drawing a blueprint, the diagram of how this structure will be made. Cool. Yet the blueprint is typically or traditionally has been on paper. And in some places now, especially now, there are programs for architects. So it's not actually a blueprint that you roll up anymore. It's actually a diagram on the screen where you move stuff and you can print it out or to your phone or your tablet and whatever. The point is, let's pause and ask for a second. We'll take the paper. Before the building can be created, constructed, there's the blueprint which designs the building. The blueprint can't be drawn on if there's no paper. There has to be paper for there to be a blueprint, for the architect to put their ideas and designs on to construct the building. Where'd the paper come from? There has to be, once again, follow it backwards until you reach, there is a point of absolute nothing. Not nothing, but the invisible that became. Because even if we say, well, no, but Reverend Ray, if you go back paper, we'll say it came from a tree, oak tree. Well, just for the sake of conversation, paper came from an oak tree. Okay, well, you can see the tree. Yeah, but how did that tree get there? What do you mean? It grew from a seed. Yeah. And the seed germinated, grew, blah, 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 from, and the seed is made of, from atoms, molecules, particles, quantum, etc. So the visibility, the visible seed is made of the invisible energy, which is an expression of the invisible divine. And add that invisible that became the visible, that became the paper, that now the invisible thoughts and ideas, imagination and creativity are now drawn onto the paper to become visible, which then are taken to a contractor who reads this, and in the space where there is nothing, they build something. Invisible to visible, invisible to visible, invisible to visible, nothingness to somethingness, nothingness to somethingness, nothingness to somethingness. We are surrounded by this. But because we are so prone to make that which is God so much larger and unattainable, we don't bring it to ourselves and make it personal. Amit Ray says, enlightenment is like quantum tunneling, when everyone sees walls and barriers An enlightened being sees infinite possibilities. Infinite possibilities. If I said, I want you to arrive at the number 4 using whatever mathematical equation you want, but I want the answer to be 4. How many different computations could you possibly do to get 4? 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, 4. 2 plus 2, 4. 3 plus 1, 4. 5, take away 1, 4. You get my point. You could go on and on and on and on and on and on with infinite possibilities of how you could get to a 4. But you have to make it personal. Enlightenment is personal. What I might feel as enlightenment, what you might feel as enlightenment, what the Dalai Lama might feel as enlightenment, what Oprah Winfrey might feel as enlightenment, what Harvey Milk might feel it, what each one would feel as completely different. In the same way that all of us could take one scoop of the same bowl of ice cream and have a completely different experience of it. One of us thinks it's delicious. One thinks it's too much vanilla. Another thinks it's not enough vanilla. Another one thinks it's too warm. I want it to be colder. Another thinks it's not creamy enough. Another thinks, oh, this is pretty good. I would eat this to get different experiences of the exact same thing. Once again, our invitation is, how do we make this personal? Is anyone familiar with this image? Familiar with this sign? So it's an old, and I mean old, sign. Type into the chat if you are. 3, 2, 1. Ouroboros, a circular symbol depicting a snake or a dragon, which is less commonly seen, but a snake swallowing its own tail. This is an emblem, a symbol, a representation of wholeness and or eternity and infinity. A never-ending circle. A never-ending circle. A circle with no beginning and no end, technically. There's no beginning or end in this, technically. The tail is in the snake's mouth. We don't know how far in the mouth it goes. We have no idea. So technically there's no beginning and no end. And this symbol has been translated and used in many, 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 many different ways. And we may not even be familiar with this version of, like the Ouroboros version of this sign, but if we're familiar with the triquetra, the Tibetan infinity knot, the yin yang, the actual infinity sign, if we're familiar with any of these, then we're familiar with the same thing. Once again, the invitation is, how do we make the infinite? How do we make infinity personal? Now, this concept of infinity has other similar concepts and words that we throw around that are in the same family, basically. That which is eternal, time goes on without end. No beginning and no end. Limitless, there are no limits. Boundless, there are no boundaries. The infinite, eternity, infinity. Now, these are all ways that we use the words typically. Someone may say, it felt like when I was in the ER a couple of weeks ago, it felt like an eternity. It just felt like the clock was going to go around and around and around and around and around forever. It was just infinite amounts of waiting and waiting and waiting. The manner in which she does gymnastics It appears that gravity has no bounds upon her. She is boundless as she soars through the air. Helen Keller, you know Helen Keller? She was deaf blind, but she lived her life as though she was limitless, as though she had no limits to what she could be or do. These are the general ways that we use it in regular everyday understanding. But the moment we add one word, the eternal, capital E, the limitless, the capital L, the infinite, capital I, it now becomes something else, because now what we are talking about is God. We're talking about the infinite source, the infinite, the universe, the infinite, the one mind, the infinite, the one life, the infinite, the thing itself, the infinite, that which goes by many names and is all of them and none of them at the same time. So the question isn't how do we make the other concepts personal? We got that. The question is how do we make the infinite personal to each and every one of us? How do we make God personal? Dr. Holmes says, the divine presence, the infinite, is personal to every living soul and uniquely personal to each and every one of us. The divine presence, God, the infinite God, is personal. Doesn't say it needs to be personal. It is personal to every living soul and is uniquely personal to each and every one of us. It's personal and it's uniquely personal to you, to me, to each everybody. God is not a one size fits all garment that many other religions have turned God into, with the dogma, with the rhetoric, with the stuff. God has become a one size fits all, judgmental, jealous, angry, temperamental child that is real quick to hurt, harm, kill, destroy anything and anyone if for them, if he is not satisfied. And sometimes that satisfaction is kill your child, as Abraham was told. Sacrifice your child to show me your love and your obedience. And right when Abraham was getting ready to do it, the story says an angel stopped him. Why would a loving God we're not even going to go down that route. God is personal right now to you, through you, as you, and uniquely personal. Now hold that in your mind for a moment. Dr. Holmes says, the intimate relationship we have with the infinite is a relationship with a dynamic power, a creative intelligence, a deathless beingness, is what I would add. A deathless beingness, not a being, a beingness, and something that is eternally in a state of intense activity. You have an intimate relationship, whether you know it or not. It's already active, it's already operating. Our invitation is to make this more conscious, to make this relationship more conscious, so that we are manifesting, demonstrating, creating, and experiencing more consciously what we desire to do, to experience. It's already there. The intimate relationship with this dynamic power, this creative intelligence, this deathless, eternal beingness, this thing that is always and forever in a state of dynamic, intense activity, is operating right here and right now as you, incarnating itself as you. That means You are the individualized expression of creative intelligence. You are the individualized expression of that which cannot die. You are the individualized expression of this power, this presence, this purposefulness, this life itself that is always in intense and dynamic activity. It is incarnating itself right here and right now as you breathe. So there are times when we think, I'm not going to choose. Well, according to William James, when you have to make a choice, and we'll say when you're provided the opportunity to choose chicken nuggets, chicken sandwich, double cheeseburger, I don't have to choose. Someone could choose for me, or I simply don't place an order, which means I don't eat. According to him, well, when you are afforded the opportunity to choose and you don't choose, that in and of itself is a choice. No, because what I said, I know what you said, but it's time to stop saying it. You always have a choice. You may not like what the choice is. There's a scene in, well, you may be familiar with the book, Beloved by Dr. Toni Morrison. There's a scene in the film that was very troubling when Oprah's character murders her own children to protect them from the slave master, to ensure that her children would not be taken and sold and enslaved, so that her children would be protected, so that her children would live as she wanted them to live. She made a choice. Now, that choice came back to haunt her later, but she made a choice. Now, many would say, well, I don't have a choice. I want my children to live. I hear you. I hear you. I definitely do. There's also a scene in the movie The Mist, written by Stephen King. And in the film, one particular version of the film, because I think there are two versions, there's a father at the very end of the movie when he and I believe it's a couple and his son are in a Jeep or a car or whatever, and they run out of gas and the monsters in the mist are closing in. And rather than suffer the pain of what the monsters, the couple asked him to kill them. So he shoots them. And then he turns the gun on his son. Now, I'm not going to tell you if he did or did not. The point is, in his mind, there's a choice. I let them torture and kill him. I grab him, and with whatever bullets we have left, we try to make a run for it. I kill him and then myself. And then those things cannot hurt any of us. There's always a choice. So the moment we start buying into the understanding of, I may not like the choices, but I have a choice. I may not like the choices, but I have a choice. Viktor Frankl didn't have a choice. He couldn't just up and leave the concentration camp that he was being held prisoner in. He couldn't just be like, I created a passport. I drew a passport and made one out of leaves and some mud. Y'all need to let me up out of here. Doesn't work that way. But even within there, he said, I have a choice. I will eat what they give me and I will grow stronger. It's nasty and disgusting, but I choose to eat it to sustain my health, my strength. There's always a choice. Breathe. Dr. Holmes says the answer to every question is within each person because they are within spirit, and spirit is an indivisible whole. The solution to every problem is within everyone. So what's an example of a problem? Actually, yeah, let's go back for a second. What is an example of a problem? Now, the problem could be individual. The problem could be getting a new job, getting a raise. The problem could be something physical going on in our health and well-being. The problem could be any number of things. And then we move it to the collective. The problem could be things that are going on in the world: sexism, homomisia, transmisia, blah blah blah. Whole bunch of things. The problem could be any number of things: political corruption, any number of things, lack of health care, any number of things. The answer to every question is within each person. The solution to every problem is within everyone. That means on some level, there is a solution to a problem within me. If I don't give myself permission to avail myself, open at the top, open at the bottom, then how do I access the solution? How do I answer the question if there's already an answer within, quote unquote, within? Now, let's sidestep a bit and say, well, why is this even possible? Now, he says, because God is that spirit is an indivisible wholeness. God is, not in parts, pieces. God is oneness. Yes. And as Rumi said, look for the answer inside your question. So if God is all there is, and it's you, and you sit with the question, what is mine to do regarding homomisia, the hatred of homosexuals? What is mine to do regarding the educational system in the United States of America? What is mine to do regarding that? Those are the questions. What is mine to do within the organization called Centers for Spiritual Living? What is mine to do? It's a question. Rather than look for the answer directly outright, because that's what colonization would have us do. Solve the problem, fix the problem, get to the answer. Microwave. Ding, ding, I'm done. Pause and come back and say, what is my question informing me about? The fact that I asked this, the way that I asked it, it in and of itself says something to me. Because I could have worded the question in any number of ways, but the way that I worded it, the words that I used, the order I placed them in are indicating something specific to me. And when I add what each of the words means to me and what they cause me to feel, and I bring all of that into the equation, the answer I notice is, oh, it's already there. Yes, it's already there. But giving ourselves permission to not try to fix it, solve it, jump to the end, sit with the question, sit with the mystery, sit with the unknowingness without trying to rush to the knowingness. It's the same concept with, we are not going to understand what it means to be eternal, boundless, infinite while we are finite. But what we can do is, as I said before, enter into that space of, how can I make the infinite, the boundless, the finite personal? How do I make my question personal? How do I make the problem personal? Because the solution already is personal. God is already personal. So once I see it all within that same frame of reference, it becomes a completely different process. Amit Ray says, give time and space to sprout your potential. Arouse the beauty of your heart, the beauty of your spirit. There are infinite possibilities. Once again, give yourself space. Give yourself time. See yourself as that which is beautiful, that which is beauty incarnating as you. Be present with your divine spiritual magnificence. Dax Bamania says, if you don't challenge yourself, you will never realize your infinite potential for yourself. If you don't challenge yourself, do something new. You don't challenge yourself, wear something different. You don't challenge yourself, take a different route home. You don't challenge yourself. You don't, whatever that word challenge means for you, if you don't open at the top, open at the bottom, if you don't maintain this element of growth, evolution, then you are never going to be able to realize the infinite potential for and of yourself. Because what we are doing is allowing the collective consciousness of play small, be small, fit in, be like everyone else, then that's what we're going to do by default. So challenge yourself. Now, you remember at the beginning when I read the blurb and I said we were going to come back to this? Well, we're back. So let's start off. There are infinite possibilities waiting to be tapped. I'm going to just start with that one first. There are infinite possibilities waiting to be tapped. There are infinite possibilities, potentialities available, and they are always being tapped. They're not waiting. God's not waiting. The universe doesn't wait. Why would it wait for itself? It said it is intense, dynamic, always active. It's not waiting. These infinite possibilities, they're not waiting. They're already in motion, always in motion. The question is, are we aligning with these possibilities and potentialities in a way that we desire to tap into? If there's something specific that we want to experience, some condition or whatever that we specifically want to experience and have as our lives, are we aligned with the energy of those possibilities and potentialities? Because we're always aligned with something. Potentialities and possibilities of disease, of heartbreak, of trauma, of terrorism, of animosity, of abandonment. Those are also possibilities. Every time you want to go on a date and you see someone across the room and you want to ask them, the possibility of receiving a no is present. But do you let the possibility of no drown out the possibility of yes? Going on an audition in Broadway or the neighborhood theater company, the audition, the answer may be next. Thank you for auditioning. Bye. Next, get off the stage. Next, Ray, leave. But leave. Okay. The audition answer, the response may be no. But do you let that no or the third no or the 44th no prevent you from, but number 45 was a yes? There are all kinds of possibilities and potentialities always present. It's never waiting. They're always there. They're always being tapped into. They are always showing up in your life, always and in all ways. Question is, are you ready, willing, and able to do this process, this practice more consciously? Everyone can be everything they imagined and more. For only $7.99 if you call now. That's what it felt like. Everyone can be everything they imagined and more if they only knew that they hold the key to unlocking their good. Everyone cannot be. Everyone cannot be everything they imagine and more unless you are effectively and righteously imagining. Can every young person who imagines being in the NFL or the NBA or on Broadway be what they imagine? No. There's a select number of slots, and everyone cannot get the slot. There's only a certain number of players that are drafted each year. Everyone is not drafted, no matter how much they imagine, no matter how talented they are. There is not space in that container for everyone. So just because you imagine it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Now, the question is, well, let's go back. Let's talk about Helen Keller. Could Helen Keller be a sighted woman simply because she imagined herself to be? No. Within the finite limitations and boundaries of each of our lives, we are being asked, well, what is the essence of the desired thing or the imagined state? And can that be attained beyond all other conditions? So it's not about what am I imagining as this thing that I want to possess, but what is the essence of it? Because that I can possess. A sense of satisfaction, living my best life. That can be, no matter what, that can be attained by everyone as long as the conditions around us are also in alignment with that. See, because we can go back and talk about Juneteenth, where these folks were free, but these folks didn't let them know they were free. They kept them as prisoners, as slaves, as servants, because their selfish desires and needs. So it didn't matter what they were imagining, did it? The container of colonization, the container of slavery, the container of white supremacy, the container of was oppressing and repressing these people. So once again, we are being asked, what is mine to do so that I can imagine whatever this is? As the Bible says, I can think that or speak that which is not as though it were, and it becomes so. How do I create the container of equity, justice, liberty for all, so that everyone can then have greater options of what to eat, where to eat, so that there are no more food deserts, so that there are no more book bans, there are no more drag bans. You have an option of where you go. You have an option of how you perform. You have an option as long as you are not causing hurt, harm, injury, etc. to another individual. What business is it of mine? So breathe. Because the invitation is, what are you imagining? Now, there was something in the middle that I'm going to let go for now, but this ends with who we ought to be. There is no who you ought to be. You already are what you are, an individualized incarnation of God. You don't earn that. You don't work a certain number of years and get a gold God watch. You are already it. So this idea of what you ought to be, once again, is a colonization consciousness idea that tells us we have to have a purpose based upon whatever that rubric of your vision, mission, and purpose, whatever that is, and we do our best to live our lives based upon that. I ought, the status symbol of a well-to-do man is to be married, have a wife, 2.4 kids, a dog, and a white picket fence. 2-car garage to go on vacation once a year, or whatever that is. And we buy into the idea of, well, that status symbol, that representation, that's what I ought to be working on, working towards. Why? What if that's not yours to be, yours to do, yours to have? What if there's something altogether different you want to be, do, and have? What we do with this awareness is completely up to us, but there is no one and nothing judging who we should be, what we should do, or how we should do it. And I mean, there are people out there who judge. Their judgments don't necessarily have to impact us. The more aware we become, the more skilled we can become in manifesting and living the lives we desire, our best lives out loud. Breathe. Reverend Ray says, what if you are not guided or directed, but you are guidance itself and the power of direction itself? You are the infinite source life itself, God, the way you speak, the way you think, speak, feel, and act is what creates in your life within the container of what others have and are also creating via the same process. Today, ask yourself, what do I want to be different, to be better in my individual life and that of the collective as well? What am I called to know, to learn, to become, and to do? Whatever is true of God is true of me, and today I embody this truth. Breathe. Our declaration affirmation, I will say it first, and if you feel like this resonates with you, say it with me on the second go round. I allow the infinitude of spirit to manifest through me, as me, and in me today, always, and in all ways. Together. I allow the infinitude of spirit to manifest through me, as me, and in me today, always, and in all ways. And so it is. The journal questions or the Thursday night discussion group, study group questions. Number one, how do I tap into the infinite possibilities and potentialities available to me? Number two, what do I imagine I want to be, do, have? Why do I want to be, do, and have that? What am I called to align in order to experience exactly that? What is the role of a life affirming mental equivalent in the manifestation of my infinite possibilities? Number four, what does it mean for me to have a personal and intimate connection or relationship with the infinite God? What is the connection with me having that same thing, that same connection, that same relationship, personal and intimate, with myself? And lastly, read the following passage and contemplate you. Now, I'm not going to read all of this, but I want you to just zero in on the idea of, in a TED, it's supposed to be TED Talk, given in 2011, Mel Robbins explained that the probability of being born with the precise set of characteristics that you have is about 1 in 400 trillion. The bottom line is that the chances of you existing are virtually zero. He goes on to say, the probability of your existence can be likened to the probability of there being 2 million people who all come together and sit together with a game of dice, trillions of possible faces, each rolls the dice, and each person gets the exact same numbers. He goes on to say, there's a famous analogy from Eastern spirituality. Imagine that there is a life buoy thrown somewhere in the ocean, and that there is only one turtle in all of the oceans swimming underwater somewhere. The probability that you will be born and exist is as small as the probability that that turtle will stick its head out of the water into the middle of the life buoy in one single attempt. He says that's about 1 in 700 trillion. So whether it's 1 in 400 trillion or 1 in 700 trillion, each of us is a unique, multifaceted, incalculable alignment of events, too vast to truly comprehend. And yet, what we can acknowledge is we are a one of a kind, and that kind that we are one of is God. We are a one of a kind, and that kind that we are one of is God. We breathe, simply anchoring into this awareness of exactly how unique each one of us is. Divinely magnificent, individualized expression of the one. That what is true of the one, God, Source, Spirit, is true of each person now. So as I speak this knowing that each person is awakening to this awareness, this understanding of exactly who and what they are, and that their intimate and personal relationship with themselves gives them greater access to the intimate and personal relationship with Spirit, with God, the divine. There is only one. And so the more we care for ourselves, we are caring for God. The more we love ourselves, we are loving God. The more we do what we choose to do as this creative power, then we are giving the expression of the divine access to creating in, through, and as us, shifting the world, changing consciousness, healing lives, educating, elucidating, and emancipating everyone in order to experience the beloved community, a world that truly does work for all, a world where there is no space for political corruption or corruption of any kind, for the thing that creates, the consciousness that creates, the paradigm that creates corruption wants something. And the moment that individual understands that their wanting is, I want what I am to be what I am. They don't know that that's the actual thing, but the moment they do and the moment that they connect with that, there is no more need to want, to hurt, to lie, to get another dollar, to build a bank account, to have gold and jewelry and cars. Because they understand I need not hurt another individual in order to live my best life. Why would I step into the arena purposefully to hurt another individualized expression of God simply so that I can drive a Lamborghini? Breathe. We breathe, recognizing that the infinite possibility, the infinite potentiality of all that is incarnating itself right here and right now, so that that which is infinite is expressing as the finite, both and, not either or, both and, right here where each of us is. That which is without boundaries and that which has boundaries and needs boundaries. Skin is a boundary, and it is a necessary one. And yet, that which we are as infinite consciousness has no bounds. Both and. And the law says yes. So we breathe this knowing that this is already answered prayer. This divine, intimate, and personal relationship with the one is already present. And so today we take the time to consciously and purposefully grow more intimate, grow more personal, grow more into the unified field of awareness of who and what we are as creation itself, incarnating itself right where we are, always and in all ways. And so it is. Namaste, blessings, much love and appreciation, everybody. Take care.